to, which is just not tenable or acceptable. By way of background, I'm an employment rights attorney. I do workers' rights at a side firm that I operate, and I also work downtown at Myers-Stevenson, doing that work as well, which is a great workers' rights firm. And then I also teach privacy law at Willamette Law, which is really information privacy related stuff. So what platform am I running on? I'm running on a platform of rapid action to address primarily the homeless crisis and the livability issues attendant to that, so drug addiction, mental health issues, safety as well. Now, some of you might know that the county chair position does not have jurisdiction over law enforcement, PPD, or sheriff's office. However, they are in a role where they can coordinate collaboratively with local law enforcement, come up with ideas for reform, for example, which is important to restore public trust. We just can't keep going on without a functioning police force, which is where we're at right now. And my background actually lines me up very well for this position. So I used to work, just to kind of go through it, for Senator Wyden for a couple years. I did privacy, national security work for him. Helped pass bicameral, bipartisan legislation to curtail mass surveillance, including the USA Patriot Act. So everybody in this room right now, and I'm looking and hoping that there's nobody younger than me, but everybody in this room was probably sucked into the mass metadata collection program, which was the government surveilling your phone data, metadata, for years after 9/11 without you even knowing. And thanks to the USA Freedom Act, that was bipartisan, we curtailed that. So I've been able to work in a large capacity to actually pass real legislation, and I spearheaded that effort. I then worked for the Oregon DOJ for about a couple years, doing trial work, appellate work, and this is where it kind of comes into the police part, is I was doing police decertifications, I was doing civil commitment appeals, I was doing criminal appeals as well. I represented all the state agencies in pretty much any type of case, and importantly, I did prison work. And prison work is important because you really need somebody who understands the prison system. Currently, right now, we're having huge problems at the DA's office with lack of prosecution, not having enough prosecutors, and also not having enough criminal defense attorneys. And so...
Just say your name because I have your card.
Rene Gonzalez.
You're running for?
Portland City Commissioner, Seat 3.
And give me your best 30 seconds.
I'm a father, small business owner in the city of Portland, lived on the east side for 20 years, deeply worried about decline in livability, particularly brought about by crime and out-of-control homelessness. We've got to get these RVs moving, we've got to get these camps swept up, and got to get more police on the street. And we've got to get a lot of addiction services out there.
Maybe this is my warm-up, so maybe even a better question is, in a couple sentences, what differentiates you from the current commissioner and other candidates?
I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm not a politician. I'm a small business owner who knows how to get stuff done. I've led a number of organizations, including my business, a major nonprofit through the pandemic, a parents group that grew to 40,000 statewide to help reopen schools during the pandemic. So I know how to lead. I know how to manage. And
you know how to lead. You know how to manage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have not been recruiting for over a year. Now we're recruiting. People are signing up. We do have to do background checks. But the state is responsible for training our police. So one of the requests, and I think this is something that both Mingus Maps and the mayor are on board with, is to have some of that training, or a large part of that training, actually happen in-house. It used to be that way. We can make that way again. The problem is not so much the length of the training, which is a problem, but it's also the amount of people that can be handled at the state level. The class is only so large and they do the training for everybody. But we also need to bring back the police officers that left. And that's right, we had a lot of good police officers that left. We now are paying an incentive bonus for people that are hired. We need to pay an incentive bonus for people to come back. And a lot of those officers were very diverse. What we had was the officers that have been here for a long time, they stayed. But the officers that have been hired recently, and some of those officers are very good, and they show the diversity that we're trying to bring to our police force. They're the ones that left because they can get those jobs anywhere. So let's incentivize people to come back. Let's make this an area where we can support our police. Once again, we need to have good police oversight. I agree with that. But let's support the police. A lot of them are doing good jobs out there. On the Citizen Review Committee, I listened to cases where the police were out there and they needed to use deadly force. And the stuff I see them doing day in and day out to save people's lives is amazing. Now, I also heard complaints against the police bureau, so some of them are not doing a good job. I mean, you have to balance the two. But let's support the police that are doing a good job. Let's hire back the police that will come back here in Portland. Portland's a great place. I doubt any of them wanted to leave Portland, but that work conditions were forcing them to do so. I'm sure we can bring people back, but it is going to take time, you know, and there's no question about it. 100 in a year is going to be difficult unless we pay like, you know, probably $25,000 incentive bonus for people to come back. We can do that. We have enough money to do that. But also long-term, we need to put institutions in place so that we can hire, retain, and train in a way that we can keep up our police force. You know, we're about half the average of police per capita than the rest of the United States. And so let's have that conversation. How many people do we need? You know, right now I'm hearing not enough, because when people call 911, they're on wait for too long in life and death situations.
We had a neighborhood fire that the neighbors had to put out because no one could answer at 911 at 11 o'clock at night to send a fire truck out.
I believe it. I believe it. I just read a story in the news. A woman was being assaulted, and somebody had pulled up and saw it. They called 911. 10 minutes it took to get someone to answer, not to respond. And they took care of it themselves. The woman had pepper spray. She pepper sprayed the guy. Then they followed, and they were the ones doing the police work. And that's the problem. Our city is making you all do the work. You're out there cleaning up the encampments. You're out there cleaning up the trash. You're out there probably providing services to the homeless community. I know my neighborhood does. Trying to link people to services. You're out there reporting the crime, but it shouldn't be you all doing that. That should be our city, and that's what they're missing out on. So you were first, sir.
Don't you feel like we're putting a Band-Aid on an open artery on this homeless camp stuff? Because most of these people aren't even from the state. They don't have driver's license. The word's out. It's free to have drugs, using them, you're not going to get busted, and we're dealing with it like it's something that is, you know, I'm empathetic to homeless people. I don't know how a lot of people even afford to pay rent every month, being the wages and the inflation and stuff that they are, but this homeless thing, this camp, these camps, has anybody gone out and talked to these people, find out where they're from?
The point in time counts did, but they don't ask where they're from. And so
You have to.
other states are doing that, though. That's an interesting thing. We don't ask them where they come from, but other states are saying if you're shipping homeless people here, and there are, California does that, I know for sure. I lived in an area once upon a time where I know that people were put in buses to be shipped out to other places because they weren't wanted. And that's, you know, people need services, people need help, I understand that. But if California, or let's say Orange County, no reason I'm using that, but maybe a reason, is shipping people here, let's charge Orange County for the people that they're, if they're saying we came here from Orange County, we're really homeless, let's get them to pay for the fact that we're providing services out here. But you're right, it is a ban. It's taken years of inaction on the part of our government to get here. It'll take years for us to solve it. It'll take everybody at this point in time. Whereas, you know, my opponent is divisive, I'm very much inclusive in this campaign because it's going to take the neighborhood associates. It's going to take all of you all to help. It's going to take individuals, including people in the services industry, in the homeless services industry. It's going to take developers here because we have to find property for them to live. We can do it, but it's going to take a while.
But that law, the voting that drugs are legal in small quantities needs to be repealed. Alcohol and weed is plenty. Anything beyond that, psycho, brain, all this shit that's going on, it's just crazy. So somebody needs to start with a vote to repeal this stupid drug law to where you can use meth and heroin and you get free needles and all that crap. It's just feeding the frenzy, the fire. The drug cartels know it, all the drug dealers know it, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, and you all know too, I mean, it's obvious, right? Measure 110 is not working, and it's not working not because of the intent, but the way it was implemented. So they said Portugal, you know, did it right by legalizing it. Well, Portugal still ensures that people get treatment. There's all sorts of systems they have there, from fines, from other things, to make sure that people actually get treatment. So it's legalized, but they get treatment. Here, we don't have any avenue of getting people into this treatment, and we're not even spending the money. Last year, the Measure 110, $170 million, I believe, was supposed to go into some of these drug rehab things. Guess what? It still hasn't been distributed, and it doesn't look like it's going to be distributed until this year, until later this year. There's failings all around, but I agree, we need to work with the state and make sure that whatever this law is, however it's implemented, we get the best outcomes. You know, on City Council, I agree with you, the law's not working. I can't change that, but I can work with the state and make sure that we at least get the money to the right people to get the drug addiction services, if that makes sense.
A lot of people don't want it. They just want to do
We have, I think Sharia said that 52% of people were using drugs, and that's for homelessness as a whole. For the individuals that are living on the streets, it's much higher, according to point-in-time counts. Methamphetamine is a scourge. I see it everywhere in the work that I do. You're right.
The fact of the matter is, you can't help anybody unless they want to have themselves.
Well, so, follow up on that, what will you do for the people that decline, refuse to go to shelters or get help? Right now, it's, well, that's okay, don't worry, you don't have to. Will you change that? Will your attitude?
Yeah, you have to. So I spoke recently with an individual, Kevin Dahlgren, who helped Gresham address the homeless crisis that they have over there. And what he said was, they have certain laws in Gresham as we have certain laws here. And they would go out to each encampment and say, we have a place for you to stay. We have a shelter for you to go to. And we will provide you the services that you need. We'll provide housing services, get you into housing, drug addiction services, mental health services. But if you're breaking a law, which there's a lot of laws out there, if you're breaking a law and you don't want to go to the shelter, we will prosecute you for that law. So, that's what they're doing. Right now, he said 14 people are homeless in Gresham. He said 80% of the people, when they were faced with those choices, went to shelters. 80% went to shelters, and 20% either stayed on the streets or went somewhere else. And so with that sort of statistic, with 14 people right now unsheltered in Gresham, if you were to extrapolate the populations, that would mean only about 100 homeless people in Portland. And so let's follow that work. So there's things that worked in Houston, there's things that worked in Miami, there's things that work in San Diego, Salt Lake City, other places, Gresham. Let's do what works instead of doubling and tripling down on things that don't. 2 more questions, and then let me take the first.
I think Lens has taken on a lot. I know Gonzalez had a big problem with homelessness, but if you came up the Mount Scott Boulevard, you'll see what we've been dealing with for many years. And it's not just in the last 2 years when COVID hit. This has been going on. And quite frankly, we feel beaten down because everybody that we have come to say when they're running that they're going to really fight for us and they're going to listen to us, but they don't. They don't. When push comes to shove, it seems like they give in, and there's a great program, at Ivy Lakes that can take on so many homeless people. It can also be a great example for what the city can do. They've got a budget for database entry that is not happening in Portland. So you don't know where these people are coming from, where they're going to, what's being offered to them, if they're accepting, if they're not.
Have you been over to Ivy Lakes?
I have, and it's an amazing facility.
Place, right?
I'm telling you, it's a great example for the city, and plus it's cheaper going through their program than what the city of Portland's offering. So what I'm asking is, I know people come in and they say they will listen to us, but the people here in this room, we are really looking for someone that when it comes to negotiating and fighting for us, we really need that person because we have suffered a lot with homeless being dumped in our area, and it's just overlooked. It's like it's normalized, and we're just done with it. Our properties, our values are going down, and we're frustrated, but we do care for these people. We care. We have families and children and grandchildren of our own, but we can't even use our services here because it's unsafe.
Yeah, and I hear you. I really
But
do.
I'm asking, I want somebody that's going to fight for us and listen to the neighborhoods.
So let me say that I hear you. I understand. Your story is one that I hear a lot of throughout Portland. It's unique, but it's one that everyone is saying our city government is not doing what we need to. We're suffering, and the people in the streets are suffering. There's a lot of compassion here in Portland. There is. I talk to so many people that are working out there themselves, that are happy to pay the extra 1% tax, that wherever the money's going to, hoping it'll help the people, but it's not. And it's to your point just now. When I decided to run for office, one of my friends, Jessie Burke, she's the president of the Old Town Neighborhood Association and owns the Society Hotel over there. She's like, I need someone to die for me. And I was like, that's not what the job entails. You know, that's not. But what she meant was you need people to fight because you're going to get a lot of pushback. And when I'm in office, I will stand up for what is right, what you're saying, what you're asking for, because we all know what the solutions are. We all understand what the problems are for sure, and we know what could be done. For some reason, it's just not being done right now. I tell people a lot that I'm running for office to put myself out of a job, and that's part of it is because I'm on a charter commission, so I'm recommending a change to some authority that our city council people have. But part of it is, I love my job right now. I have the most amazing job. I'm running for city council to improve things here, and that part of that is listening to you all and being responsive to you all. And part of that is implement things that actually make a difference down the road, not just funding more things that are not making a difference. You know, you talk about Ivy Lakes. I was there when it initially opened up, and I was there not too long ago. Alan Evans is an endorser of my campaign, but so is Homer Williams. He went to San Antonio. He saw a shelter model over there, not too different from Ivy Lakes actually, but they camped outside and then they would come in. He came over here. He's like, it's working in San Antonio. Let's do it here. City Council was like, no, we're not going to do that. So now he has a transition sort of thing going on in Northwest. You know, even Bob Stoll, who's on Here Together, which are a conglomeration of these service providers, is an endorser of my campaign. What you see is a lot of these individuals that are working in the same field, sometimes at odds, feel that I can bring them together and make sure we get things done. And that's what I'm here for. I'll make those tough decisions. But I expect all of you to be there at City Hall. When I get that pushback and people are like, no, let's keep the status quo. I'll need y'all to write in. I'll need y'all to be there and voice your opinions, so I'm not there by myself.
We've been there.
Yeah. Well,
We've been there.
I'll be there too.
Unlock the doors and those.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, one more question here.
So you've got 14 minutes left.
All right.
You and the other lady talked about making them pay for their crimes, answer for their crimes and their addiction. But the district attorney, how are you going to deal with that? Because he refuses to arrest and prosecute. And where do you propose to send them to address their addiction and rehab? Because the mental hospital is shut down. I don't know where you're going to send them.
So, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll let you follow up if you want. I have a little bit of time still left. So, yes, you're right. The district attorney won't prosecute certain crimes, but you know that's politics. That's not the fact that we don't have laws on the books. And so I think right now there have been conversations with the district attorney about what has been said in the past. I certainly talk with assistant district attorneys in that office and understand what they're going through. It's a long-term thing. So part of it is making sure that we put the political pressure on there to make sure that we do what's needed. Part of it is not needed for you and I, but needed for the people on the streets as well to get themselves out of their addictions. But part of it is also working with whoever the new chair is, whether it's Sharia or, you know, I think that there's other good candidates, but we need to make sure that we have a budget for the district attorney's office. Right now, they're very short-staffed as well, and their budget has been cut for several years. I think for about 20 years, this is the first year where they've had a little bit more of a budget so that they can actually prosecute this stuff. So some of it is short-term, some of it is long-term, where we have to work together to make sure that we get put into places things that will happen. Some things we can do very quickly, some things will take more time. And so with respect to the longer-term vision of making sure that we can actually prosecute a lot of these crimes so that individuals aren't back in the streets doing even more hardcore crimes are addressed, that's going to be a longer problem. I'll be honest with you, that'll take a longer time. The district attorney is up for election in 2 years. He's going to want to see things different than when he came in, and certainly he knows the error he made, I think, in saying that he was not going to prosecute crimes right away, and then that sort of took a life of its own. I understand that now he's had a different view on that. But there's, the politics, the conversations will need to happen in order to make sure that we address the problems that we have. And then, what was your second question?
The mental
Mental health. There's not enough inpatient. We have outpatient services. So if you need someone to go inpatient drug addiction, we just don't have enough beds. We don't have enough facilities. But for outpatient counseling, Cascadia, Central City Concern, there's a lot of organizations out there that provide outpatient drug addiction counsels. Even OHSU will provide that.
I think the people we're talking about, outpatient is not an option.
It's a start. I agree. I agree completely. I wish I could build 100 buildings in a short period of time, but to get them even to take Suboxone where the heroin is not going to be affecting them, that's a step.
Heroin's not the problem.
Yeah.
Meth is the problem, and when you're addicted to meth, there's no talking to you.
Yeah. Well,
You just have to lock them up and dry them out.
I agree with you.
They sound bad, but
I agree with you. I agree with you. I see meth a lot. In my job, I see that come up a lot, and it's a scourge here. I've never seen it this bad. I've done the same job in California. I've done the same job in Houston, Texas. I saw a little bit of meth in California. Houston still had a crack issue a few years ago, but not so much of meth. Here, the meth is out of control. And part of that is, making sure that the meth that's being dealt and brought into the state, we stop that. Part is making sure that you don't have people with drug addictions right next to people that are dealing the drugs. We have to do these intervention techniques. Once again, it's not going to be easy, but we got to take those steps. So I wish I could promise you that a bunch of places will be open, and that's not going to happen, but at least if we can connect them to drug addiction services, if they can get like a few days of sobriety and start making choices about their lives, it's a step in the right direction, and that's all I can promise. Quick question, sir. How do you go?
Will you make a promise to us here today that if you get elected, that you will let us know where all the money's going and follow that and what effectiveness that is? Because right now what we have is we have a homeless industrial complex, and it's an industry, and that has to be exposed. I think we have a massive PR problem of misinformation, and I don't understand why Wheeler, Maps, and etc. weren't out there fighting the DA, what have you, or before the 110 was passed, letting the Oregonians know what the impact would be if this thing passed. So we need someone who, on the city council, who is going to tell the citizens here in Portland exactly what's happening, bypassing the Oregonian, bypassing all these other biased partisan organizations, and then also find the money and let us know where it is.
You have my promise. And the reason I say that is I gave like a really abbreviated, this is not my usual speech because you all know what that's, I'm smart and I do all kinds of stuff and I have a job. That's my normal speech, right? I talked to you all about the facts here because I think that's important, and you already got some of the issues talked about here. In my discussions, I talk about that. I actually reached out to Dan Ryan's homeless services employee that he has in his office. I'm like, why can you not go to the Joint Office of Homeless Services website and see, one, how many beds are available in shelters so people can actually send people out there. Two, where's the money being spent? We have so much money coming in from the city, from the county, from the new services tax, federal money coming in. Good luck trying to track it down. There's no way. I mean, we're probably succeeding in some things. We're almost certainly failing in a lot of things. Do we know? No, we don't. Are those different service providers overlapping, kind of doing the same thing? Are they working together? No, there's no plan altogether. But we need to have,
We'll count on you to give us an account, a breakdown of where it's going, because those people have to be called out.
Yeah.
It's okay if they're getting the money, but what are they doing with it?
Yeah.
What are they doing with it? Because we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars.
I agree.
It's ridiculous.
And I'll follow up this statement with the fact that you mentioned 1% extra towards these services. I'm not willing to pay any more money until I know what money is being spent where.
Oh, no, you shouldn't.
And to what effect.
You should not pay
I'm
any more
looking
money.
at moving out of the city, out of the county, and possibly out of the state because of this. And I'm going to be frank about it, the shithole right down the street. It's a freaking mess. It needs to go, and we need somebody that's going to actually have some real straight talk and not mess around.
Don't let anybody tell you, sir, don't let anybody tell you there's not enough money out there. There's more than enough money already.
But why do we need to pony up more?
No,
My property taxes in this neighborhood have doubled in the last 14 years. To what effect? The homeless population, and not even homeless, the feral population has not decreased. If anything, it's stayed level. It has not decreased at all.
And sir, you should not pay more. And that's not on my platform when I said 1% or whatever. The 1% tax that's already being paid. I mean, I'm doing the math. It's about $50,000 per homeless person that we're funding right now. We can do better. You know, we can do better. And that tax will end in a few years. And hopefully by then we've got things cleared up and it won't be renewed. That's the goal. Stay in Portland. Vote May 17th. But I'll do what I can, sir. That's all I can say. There's plenty of money out there.
I agree with him too, because like the four of us right here, we just live a block down across 105th. And there's been some of those people up in yards looking in windows. And my house, I can't look out my living room window without seeing what's going on down there because we sit above NAP.
And that's not normal, right?
And it's not safe to drive down NAP. Sometimes there's kids on bikes.
Oh,
Those vehicles were on the south side of Nap, up against that park. The Department of Parks or whoever manages that park down there came in, had those vehicles moved to the north side of the street so that the park could be accessed by the public. Now, if the city has the power to move the vehicles across the street 25 feet, why can't they have the power to remove the vehicles entirely out of the city?
So that's PBOT, that's my opponent is in charge of PBOT, and that's.
That needs to be spread around the whole.
Everybody, I gotta run to the next thing. I hear you. Trust me, I hear you. And we'll make a difference in January 2023. That's a long time, but please vote. Please visit my website. There's a lot more information on my website, votevadim.com. I wish I had more time to talk to you, sir. I understand the frustration, I really do, and I understand other people's frustration. I've experienced some of these issues myself. There's an encampment not too far away from my house. We need to do better. We need to do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So where did Chad go?
Chad's right there.
Okay, get back up here.
Chad's hiding.
He's hiding. Hiding in the back, are we?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is 7:26. We close this down at 8:30, so you guys have plenty of time, I hope.
I'm not quite the talker like Sarah.
You're not talking like Vadim?
Neither am I.
Okay.
Or the other.
Okay, so go ahead and introduce yourselves. And I said there's tablets on the table back there. If you guys want to just write, your thoughts down, questions down.
Good?
Good.
All right, my name is Chad Leisey. I'm running, I put my name in because Portland has a major communication issue. They also have a problem with trying to tell everybody what they want to hear. Some of the stuff that I heard tonight, for example, all the commissioner, everybody running for the position 3, I reached out to every single one of them. As soon as they put their names in, and I've reached out a couple times, and I've invited them all to lunch. I said, hey, let's go to lunch. I'll pay for it. Just want to, meet each other and get a feeling because we're candidates. We're fellow candidates. Peggy, Dale, and Caroline are the only ones that reached back to me. So out of the response of the rest of them, it was, I'm too busy to meet with you, or just no response at all. So you kind of nailed a little bit there when you asked the accountability. So I keep hearing this as like a broken record. It's unfortunate. So if they want to reach out to me, are they going to reach out to anybody else? So I find that concerning. So part of the big reason why I did run is I do live in the Pearl District. We like the Pearl District. We love it down there. We can walk all over the place. It does feel a little intimidating sometimes going downtown. I'm a big dude, if you haven't noticed, and I feel intimidated walking around down there a bit. So yeah, it's nice down there. But when that young gal got shot last summer downtown, waiting for food,
The one in the hotel?
the 18-year-old girl that got shot, she was just waiting outside the food trucks. The very next day, council members and the mayor particularly, it was on the news. I'm going to have police officers down there nonstop. We had a friend come up from Dallas, Texas, and we went downtown. This is like 2 weeks later. We went downtown. I didn't see one police officer the whole night. So we went out to dinner and stopped at a couple bars. We ended up coming back at about 3 in the morning. Not one officer the whole time. That infuriated me. I tried to reach out to the city council and all the commissioners I tried to reach out to, and there was zero response. So I find it really sad that there's no communication whatsoever. So, and I keep hearing over and over from people, you try to get a hold of them, you get no response. What I do for a living now is I come into, I restructure, let me back up. I had a company for 15 years. I built a multi-million-dollar company. I had about 50 employees. My whole life I wanted to fly since I was 5. So about 5 years ago, I gave my company to one of the guys that worked for me for 10 years. And when I say gave, I just give it to him. I didn't want nothing out of it. I went back to school to be a commercial pilot, to get my bachelor's in aviation. I've always been I try to live my life as, if we make it to our deathbed, we'll regret the things we don't try, rather than things we do. And anyways, that's long story short, I ended up here. I know what it takes, and now in the position I'm in now, I come into failing branches and I restructure them, and I flip them around, make it profitable. And the only way to do that is through communication. So I communicate with everybody all the way down to the person that's cleaning the floors to the CEO of the companies. Because communication is key. And right now they have 0 open door policies at the city. If you try to go down there now and talk to any of them,
You think?
there's no response.
Are they even down there?
That's a good question.
They're probably afraid to come in.
Yeah, well, we stopped down there a few times, and it's all locked up. So
There's nobody there.
yeah, it's just odd to me. So, like I said, that's why I put my name in. I'm spending $0 on this. Really trying to put my foot in the door. So I know I don't really stand a chance of winning the election.
You don't?
But I don't feel, because I'm not spending the money, the hundreds of thousands.
He doesn't have the advertising.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not doing all the advertising, just online stuff.
Is there being kind of debates with you candidates
on
TV?
I did go to one last month, and it was good. It was just me, Dale, and Joanne that showed up. And we had a really good conversation. They did like a tea party deal. We had a really good conversation, and that's what I really enjoyed. It was Imagine Black. You can get, I think the video's posting next week, so you can get on and watch that too. It was really cool. Like I said, it was nice because it was a conversation. It went more from a debate or forum to really a good in-depth conversation between all of us with the mediator. But anyway, like I said, the communication is number one to everything. I am, unlike a lot of the other candidates or people in office now, I have zero policy against the homeless. I don't agree with any of the homeless being on the streets, period. Right now we're raising, they passed that deal where they brought the 1% and 2% if you make more, $2.5 billion over the next 10 years. So the way it's happening is the money's being collected, being dispersed through the counties, right? If you get on, say, Multnomah website and see where they're spending the money, there's $500,000 a year just on computer crap. The hell are you spending $500,000 on tech for the homeless? Like,
That's for the homeless?
That's the funding with the homeless.
For the homeless?
Well, it's not for the homeless, it's for the people. They're
it's going
for the
into
administrative fees. So if you add up all their administrative fees, they're spending millions and millions of dollars. So I find it concerning when I see lawyers and stuff like that running for office. Okay, so laws are written by lawyers for lawyers, period. How much money can they make and their buddies make? So Portland has major problem with, and the county, the state particularly, has a major problem with padding the pockets of their friends.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with the city, but the I-5 bridge, the $130 million they spent on consulting.
Consulting.
And did do a
Got
damn
pictures,
thing.
like
I'll tell you right now, the city does the exact same thing. The city is blowing millions. Everybody keeps saying, "Oh, how much inflation, and how much the property value is going up, and this and that." The city has had to play a big part in that. The city, all these profiteers coming in. The city has been helping these people out so much because how much can I get off it? How much can my buddies make off this? That crap's got to stop. Period. You know, so I believe in complete transparency. Like, so with my work now with restructuring branches, I include every single employee. I'm like, this is what we're making, this is what we're doing, every step of the way. You know, because I feel like it's important that everybody needs to know and everybody needs to be on the same page. Right now with the homeless issue, I just watched one of the commissioners on People for Portland, and they're talking about when they're meeting together. They're meeting every couple months, 2, 3, 6 months. You know, they need to be coming up with a plan and meeting regularly. We're talking about weekly, bi-weekly. You know, a lot of great groups throughout Portland that are trying to do things for the homeless communities. You know, but they're not. What we really truly need is to be able to bring somebody that's going to bring all these groups together and bring them to one and come up with a solid game plan that everybody agrees on, you know, and then stick to that game plan. Right now, you have 100 fingers going everywhere, and it's zero effective, you know. And I've told people, and many people, that I know myself, I can't go pick up a 2-ton boulder, but all of us throughout the community, we could pick up a mountain and move it. You know, so it needs teamwork. Right now, the city, there's no teamwork.
Didn't they form some kind of new agency under the mayor to bring in PBOT, ODOT, all these things?
Yeah, well, we all know how Ted Wheeler is. He spends all of his time blaming everybody else. It's always the state or it's Congress. Like, I implore Congress to do something. You know what? Take responsibility for what the hell you're doing. You know what I mean? So if I am to get on to the city council, I'll take responsibility for every single employee. Like, you know, you if there's an issue, you'll see the mayor and other council members say, no, not us. I'll take full responsibility.
Well, that's because they're in charge of bureaus. They use the bureau excuse.
Yeah, they do. And then, you know, and restructuring to a council form of government, I agree and disagree with that, you know, because what they're talking about is basically, you know, because you'll have a city manager and everything else, so it's going to inflate pushing everything off.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the city manager's fault. And they're going to go through so many city managers. Yeah. They're going to have to pay that person, you know, $1 million a year just to stick around, you know. But that's what it's going to be, is just pushing all the blame because they don't want to take any responsibility.
I just heard from someone who's in Bend and they have the charter form. He hates it. They're trying to go to the commission form.
And I agree. The commission form gives more accountability. Yes. You know, and it should be giving more accountability. So, I don't know. I just, like I said, I work full time. I'm not real involved and dug into the city and stuff like that, so I don't know details. You know, if it was my job, then it would be, you know, then I would know every single deal. I'm kind of a micromanager in a good way. So every employee that I have is like, I love this because you know everything's going on all the time. Like, you know your steps ahead, and I'm always trying to help them, guide them. You know what I mean? So I'm the same way with the city. You know, I'd ride around. Every year, I'd ride around a week with every single department and just do ride-alongs. Like, go with the police department, do a ride-along, you know, because the employees know what they need. Some people sitting in, well, I would say sitting in an office downtown, but it doesn't sound like
we don't have
that.
them sitting in
office. But the commissioners, they have no idea. They're just sitting behind a desk and they're like, this is what you need. And they're like, bullcrap. Go out and ask the employees what they need. I was a volunteer firefighter for 8.5 years. Right, worked with a lot of police officers through, you know, and state troopers, stuff like that. Particularly when we worked bad accidents, stuff on the highway. You know, I don't generally. I don't think that there's a lot of bad officers out there. I think what's going on now, particularly in this area, is they're treated like dogs. I've made friends with a few officers, and that's the #1 thing they bring up. Because, and they say, we get treated like dogs. They run us in the ground, they blame us for everything, and it's not so bad that the commissioners are doing it, or not so bad that just the community's doing it, but it's the commissioners too. So they are driving police officers away, you know. We see what happens when you defund the police. That $15 million, crime is just blew up, you know. And they keep advertising it too. So, oh, we're short on police, we're short on police. Of course, the criminals are going to start acting out more, you know, because I get away with it. you know? I don't know how many times driving down the street, you see people just blowing through red lights, because they're like, cops ain't gonna do a damn thing, you know? But community, as far as like law enforcement, community involvement is huge, in my opinion. When I was on the fire department, we'd go to every school and meet with every single classroom for Fire Prevention Month every October. And we do that because when we're all suited up and we have our oxygen masks on, we look really scary, you know, we look like aliens to kids. So the purpose was going and getting them to trust us and feel comfortable with us. So if there ever was a fire, they wouldn't hide under the bed or something like that, you know. I think that's something that really needs to be implemented here in Portland too. But they also need the police officers to be going to the schools and building relationships.
Well, they used to, but they don't have enough to do that now. They're all so busy.
Yeah, right, because they're so short-handed.
They don't have enough to go out and do that.
And, you know, so it's just a lot of that community involvement and then forcing officers to walk the streets a couple days a month and going to all the businesses, handing out their cards, and just building relationships with people, you know, because if Mary looks out her window, sees Johnny out on the corner with a gun in his pants, if she feels like she's friends with a police officer or in front of the situation, she will call and say, hey, Johnny has a gun standing on the corner, you know. So right now, none of that's happening. There's no community involvement, stuff like that. When we go to the police department, as far as the police and degrading and treating them like crap, that's why they're leaving. You know, offering a $25,000 hiring bonus. I talked to one of the sergeants, okay, and he says, I've been here for 15 years, whatever, on the police department, 20 years. He's like, he says, what about me? You know, he's like, I don't deserve any sort of incentive or bonus or anything like that, just new people. And I agree 100%, you know, like, I am not for giving big bonuses to new officers. I'm totally against it. I'm for treating the people that we have like humans and treating them fair to begin with, you know. So we have a major problem with law enforcement that the city has created themselves.
And why do you think they don't want to wear cameras? It's because, I mean, in my opinion, it's because they don't trust anybody to, you know, they're afraid anything they do would be wrong.
Yeah,
police want the cameras. It's the city that doesn't want them.
You know, and they need, you know, body cameras do not don't just protect the community, they protect the officers too, which is great. So I had a real good friend of mine for years as a sheriff, and he was telling me about one of the cities within the county wanted to implement cameras, and so the council asked him to come and talk to him about body cams, and it just turns out the sheriff had pulled over one of the council members at one time. And the council member was he was super drunk and belligerent and everything else. So he goes and he explains to him, he says, yeah, no, these don't just help the people throughout the community know transparency, what's going on, but it helps protect both sides. And he started, and then, so the one council member that had the run-ins was no, I'm totally against him. And he was like, I got a video that I could show all of you guys, just a video. And boy, that council member switched his tone completely, and then they got the cameras. But I think body cameras are super important, and they protect. And the officers that I've talked to, they say the same thing. They're like, hey, it helps us, it protects us. You know, the city doesn't want the responsibility of governing them, so they're trying to figure out, well, who's going to be in charge of the video and who's going to do this. That's, you know, to me that should be an internal deal with the police department. They should be responsible for holding the data, but the oversight of the city needs to be the ones to review and share the videos and not cover up and hide everything. You know what I mean? And the unions too. Unions can be a pain in the butt. Police unions. I'm not the type of guy that puts up with this stuff like that. You know, they try to muscle around. I'll work with the unions just fine. I'll work with them just fine, but I'm not going to just lay down like they do now. Say, oh, okay, you don't want that? We're sorry, we're not going to do that. Bullcrap. Another person brought up, as long as we're talking about law, the county, the city and the county, the district attorney. So district attorney is funded by the county, right? I believe in accountability. Our city attorney, city attorney would hate me if I was in a position. I keep them busy all the time as people, you know, because I believe that laws are meant to be changed. You know, things, if you don't like something, you change it. As far as the county goes, we don't have a whole lot of control over them, but we can sure as hell sue them. You know, force them to do their job. You know, there's a lot of that right now where somebody made the comment that they're not doing their job, they refuse to prosecute anybody. That's unacceptable. You know?
I don't understand why Joanne Hardesty has so much to say about the police. It's not her
Purview.
jurisdiction. It's not under her, it's not what she's in charge of.
But she wants
all.
to be, but she wants to be so badly, you know, like she kept saying 2 years ago, I want it so bad, you know, Ted needs to hand it over to me and blah, blah, blah. If she had her way, she'd fire the whole damn police department and hire the street response people, which, street response, I'm totally against that too. You know, if you're gonna be out on the streets, you need to be a police officer. You don't know what kind of situation you're in. I'm not opposed to de-arming police officers for certain situations. Say if you're walking around downtown, patrolling downtown. Okay, but street response deals and stuff like that is just silly. It's not. It doesn't work. It's not working. It's making zero impact. But they want to continue.
They're seeing 2 people a day, come on.
Yeah, right. So I'm just guessing
They
stuff.
use percentages to tell you, oh, street response is, you know, up 50%. They don't tell you how many actual people. They use percentages.
Yeah, right. It's nuts.
Crap.
So.
Well, the big problem is, they went and looked at Cheers, which is dreadfully successful in Eugene. Cheers is doing a phenomenal job. Then, oh, wait a minute, they're not doing it quite right. So we're gonna go back to the committee, and we're gonna rewrite it and show them how to do it right. And they were at our meeting, when was it, Char?
Oh, Portland Street Response has been at several of our meetings, like 4.
Well, no, but the last one where he had to confess that they were seeing 1.5 people a day.
Yeah.
1.5 people a day. Isn't
Yeah,
that
last
crazy?
summer.
Isn't that crazy?
It's a hand of water and
We're seeing
granola bar.
1.5 people a day on an average in an 8-hour shift.
It's nuts.
And what are you providing? Well, we're taking cookies and water.
Well, we're trying to make them feel more comfortable with being in
Yeah.
the situation there, which is BS to me. You know, I don't.
I can do that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not in the.
You shouldn't do that.
You shouldn't, yeah.
My opinion is we shouldn't be enabling these people.
Yeah.
No.
And that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and then every time you turn around, with Joanne particularly, it's either a sexist or a racist thing because that's why you disagree with me, and that's why you're against the homeless and this and that. It's like, no, you know, the definition of sanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, and that's exactly what they're doing, and that's exactly what the public's been doing by electing the same people. Not that Joanne, this is her first term, but it's just, it's saying to me, and like I said, enabling, we are enabling the homeless. We are. I mean, period. I used to stop on a regular and be like, hey, do you want to make $25, $30 an hour? Here's my card. Call me. I will give you a job. I probably handed out 150 cards or something like that. 0 people have responded to me. 0. You know, so they want to be homeless. They want to stand on the corner.
Absolutely.
You know, I'd like to.
They want to stay on the subsidies so they can buy their drugs.
Yeah, and I know that I'm gonna anger a lot of people. I don't want to make everybody happy. I care less. If I'm not pissing off 40% of you,
You're in the right group.
then I'm not doing my job. You know what I mean? I continuously say, you know, majority rules because that's the structure of government we live in. And boy, I keep getting a lot of kickback on that. You know, a lot of people are very angry about it. You know, Joanne Hardesty was angry at me when I said that a couple weeks ago.
She gets angry at a lot
And
of people.
I was like, you know, you guys keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and it's not working. And then you're coming up with the excuses saying that it is working, and I'm like, you're gaslighting me. There's no, that's what you're doing.
Didn't they get PSU to do a survey?
Yeah, they spend a ton of money, but like you were saying with the paper trails and the money, follow the money, you're gonna find a lot of corruption in Portland. I'm not making any accusations, but you're gonna see if we had somebody like me that was doing the job all the time, I would suspect that you'll see a lot of people being charged. You know, so
You're a businessman, you know where you.
Yeah, I follow the trail big time.
It's
and
a
that's
homeless industry.
Yeah.
Everybody's hopped on the homeless bandwagon.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's
there's
where all the
major
millions of
money.
dollars
And these are the friends of the politicians and their friends that are handing out the money to them.
2.5 billion over the next 10 years. I'm sure we all have YouTube and stuff like that. The foldable houses that open up, beautiful. They come furnished
Elon
and stuff
Musk.
like that.
Elon Musk.
There's another company that's doing it too,
Okay.
but they're $50,000.
Yeah,
you
well,
know.
that's a
So
50,000
you say, take a lot that we already own on the edge of town. You know, you stick them out there, say ridiculous amount of money, say $50,000 just to hook up water and
Utilities.
everything to each one of them, which should be closer to probably $10,000 something by the time it's done. But so if you spent the 50 and then 50 to hook them up, that's 25,000 of those units that they could put up. Nobody's looking into them. Nobody cares. They say you can't stick them, you can't push them.
That might solve the problem.
Yeah, it might. Yeah. But
and
you
there goes the money.
I keep hearing, well, you can't push them and force them to go places. Well, I disagree with that. I don't care even if it's just a big homeless lot where they set up their tents on the edge of town. And I mean on the edge of town. And they don't need to be
Not
within
in
city limits at
neighborhoods.
all. Yeah. Once you do that, ban them 100%. No camping, street camping, period. Don't care. And then
Unless they're out raping and pillaging their neighborhoods.
they are. There's no doubt. You know, look at all these cars around here. Most of these you see around here stolen. They're getting stripped. You know, so I believe if I were to get in the first year, within the first year, I would want to see a 100% ban starting downtown, and then have a plan drawn up so it expands outwards throughout the whole city.
Why don't you start out and come in?
Well, you have to start from somewhere, you know. I mean, I feel like it's easier to drive them out farther, you know.
Come in for a change, because you know what happens every time you do this? Lens is the dumping ground. That's
Oh yeah, and that may be something to look at. So I would like to bring out all the groups together, bring everybody together,
There's a river
communicate.
right in the middle. You can go from here.
Oh yeah, right.
From there.
But even just starting off 100% ban, you know, like we have the people, we have the equipment. Let's remove them. I don't care. I have zero tolerance. So, and if they refuse to go, say I'll buy you a bus ticket wherever you want to go. You get the hell out. You know what I mean? Like,
Escort them to the border.
yeah.
I think they should bring back the poor farms again.
Yeah, it's not a bad
It'll
idea.
be
The
farming
farm was
and getting
amazing.
help and
But
getting all
There's so much.
And farm markets are the biggest thing now.
Yeah, I know, I
They can grow
agree.
their own crops, they can make their own food. I mean, it worked many years ago, but that was before all this, but, that's,
Well,
being sufficient.
My partner is back there in the back, and I've told her, always continuously telling her stuff all the time. But I bring up stuff, I've brought stuff up like that to her, and then even so there's so many things that, something like that, well, hey, we have to have support from the state and so on, like that for the farm camps. But it's like the prison system, throughout the country. Canada they pay, their prison system, they pay the prisoners $15 an hour to work on dairy farms, stuff like that the prison owns, and taxpayers pay nothing for the prisons. So I was like, why are we not doing that here? Because they found a way to make money off it.
Absolutely.
On the
Ivy
prison
Lakes is doing it.
Found a way to make money off it.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
That's okay.
But they do that with
That's
everything,
okay.
so I'll just wait.
Quite honestly, Chad and I kind of have a little bit of a relationship. We
Oh,
work
do you?
about 2 blocks from each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We work in construction.
Okay.
And we both have a lot of the exact same ideas.
So you live in the Pearl?
No, our offices are 2 blocks.
Oh, your office is.
Yeah, not even 2 blocks.
I live in Lentz.
Oh, I thought so.
I live right by Lentz Park.
Okay.
Oh,
So
my
I know
neighbor.
exactly what you people
You're
are
my
talking
neighbor.
about.
Yeah.
I work in Northeast Portland, so does Chad, and we, just today, about 2 hours before we got off, somebody blew up an SUV that they had stolen. 5 gallons of gas and stolen SUV makes a really good flame. That's our neighborhood, and every day when we come to work, there's a couple of streets parked along Whitaker and Marks and that area that they slowly get chopped every day. There's
Yep.
more pieces missing, and then it slowly
Yep.
works its way out into traffic.
Yep.
Neither of us are politicians. Neither of us are taking any money from anybody. We have not accepted not one dime in political contributions. I was an administrator for a construction company for 20 years. I recently bought the company. I took it over from one of my employers died, and the other one wanted to retire. So I am now one of the few female owners of a glazing company here in Portland. And because of the nature of my business, I see a lot of the destruction and a lot of the non-accountability. And I think the whole purpose of both of our campaigns is common sense and accountability. I am a bookkeeper, so I like to know where the money's going. And I've worked on some of these buildings that are quote-unquote low-income housing. Only thing is you never see anybody low-income in them. And when you were talking about the money, just to address some of your issues, the three corners, the Copper Penny, where the Copper Penny used to be. Okay, we won the contract for all three of those properties. But Portland has this thing, anything over $100,000, you have to do what they call work source training. And at the time we were not union, we are union now, we had to. But the only people in our trade that offered work source training was the union. And if the union wouldn't do a one-job agreement with you, you couldn't do the job or you got penalized because you couldn't meet their requirements. So we turned back 2 of the contracts and we kept the contract for the one corner where the farmer's market was for quite some time. And everything was boom, 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 rush. We met with the city on a regular basis trying to show them that we were trying to meet their requirements. I'm obviously a minority and a female. But I don't count, even though I was just an employee.
You weren't one of their buddies.
I wasn't one of their buddies. But we built the one corner, and it sat empty for 9 months to a year. You didn't see not one single plant in any one of those windows. The other company came in it went back out for bid again when we turned back the other 2 corners. And the company in California won the bid. Well, they couldn't meet work source requirements either. So it went back out for bid a 3rd time, and one of the union shops got it. So the price of the building went up by a lot. And it ended up being a private investor that the city gave money to because they were supposed to be low-income housing. And the problem is that, once again, no low-income housing went there. There is a medical facility in the bottom of one, and now you've got the Planet Fitness in the other. But there's no accountability. There's nobody is telling you where the money is going. Part of the reason I was actually the first person to throw my hat in the ring, because I was watching the news one night when Hardesty was speaking, and I was angry. I was very angry and very frustrated. And my fiance's like, just shut up and run. I'm kind of like Chad. We would love to win. We understand that we're not throwing the money that Rene or Vadim, they have some great ideas, but I don't think they live in the same planet that we live in. Right. They don't have to drive by it every day. They don't have to see it at the market.
They're a bit total pole than we all are.
Yeah,
It was clear.
You can't say, well, we're going to talk to you, not at you.
Right.
I am so tired of people telling me what I'm going to do. The whole defunding of the police is a prime example. Nobody asked anyone in this room if we wanted to defund the police. And the only people I know that wanted to defund the police are the criminals. Yeah, and as far as the measure you were talking about with the drugs, they lied, flat out lied when they put that on the ballot. people did not understand what they were voting for. It said minor drug offenses. Now, I'm sorry, I don't consider meth, heroin, crack, any of that a minor drug offense. It's not marijuana. It's not, let's face it, you know, it's a whole different animal. I don't see a bunch of stoners out there stealing my car. They're too busy at home, you know, eating potato chips. It's very frustrating right now that nobody's listening to us. And I still owe Chad lunch. So speaking of not listening, but
status quo is just throwing more money at it.
Well, and that's just it. They keep throwing stupid money at stupid things
Because it's lining somebody's pocket.
Okay, so just for a prime example, he works right down the street from where I work. We're in an industrial neighborhood up there, and they decided in their infinite wisdom to put these stupid little cones at every turn.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, none of the semis that work on our street could make that corner. Those things were gone within a week. They put them in front of the post office right there on 122nd and Prescott. Is that Prescott? And I almost got T-boned 4 times in 2 weeks because I would pull forward into the little area there and people were waiting to turn. But the people behind me that wanted to go to the post office, because normally you just line up there and then you kind of go with everybody else. And so to me, that's stupid money. All these things that they're doing to our roads with these. Okay, I'm sorry, in bike lanes. If I see a guy riding a bike and holding on to another one, it's stolen.
You think?
I called the police recently, and there was somebody chopping a car right in front of my warehouse. And the mechanic across the way, his English isn't great, so he came over and he asked me to call. So I called, I said, there's a stolen vehicle being chopped right in front of our building. And 911, when I got her on the phone finally, was like, well, how do you know it's stolen? And I said, well, people don't usually chop up their vehicle in front of my business.
Kind of obvious.
She's like, well, is there a license plate? I said, no, there's no license plate. She goes, well, can you walk around to the back of the car and tell me if there's a license plate there? And I'm like, did you not just hear me say that he has a Sawzall in his hand? And it's like, okay. Well, then we find out the cop actually did finally show up several hours later. There was one police officer working from Pearl District to Gresham, Park Rose to, I think, Powell. Maybe Division Powell. One officer that handles crime. Gunshots. Every night I hear gunshots. I don't know how many of you have a Ring video, but you get those little neighborhood alerts. And it's like just repeated over and over and over and over. And the homeless crisis. I believe in a hand up, not a hand out. And we're too busy just throwing money and these vouchers. These vouchers are driving me nuts. I work my ass off. I go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning. I got home at 5:30 this evening. I work 10 to 12 hour days on average. Why am I paying for everybody else? I firmly believe in helping those who are willing to help themselves. And we have some great, as Chad mentioned, we have some amazing programs here in Portland. Jean's Place, Veterans Transition Housing, Portland Rescue Mission. They have inpatient, they have outpatient services. But people have to want to go to them and to accept their help. The program that you mentioned. If we would support these programs more instead of trying to reinvent the wheel.
Like the Walkatoo, the city does
I was so angry over that. Okay, first of all, we now have this stupid law, this arts tax that was only supposed to last 2 years, that has been on our books. I actually sent mine back in and I just got a double bill because I sent it back in with a thing that said illegal tax on it. To put sweaters on statues downtown, and we can't reuse any of the sweaters. 1% of all construction at a public facility goes to arts.
Yes.
So Wapato, they spent over $100,000 on artwork.
Yep.
Not to mention the millions of dollars that they put into this quote-unquote prison. And I'm only going to call it a prison because that's what it was meant to be. But it shouldn't have the stigma of being a prison because it was never actually occupied.
Yeah.
So you have this building that they built that had a gym. It had a commercial grade kitchen. It had individual housing.
Medical facility.
Medical facilities. And the reason that they wouldn't put
Laundry.
anybody there is they said there's no access to services. Okay, so here's an
Why did you
idea.
build it there?
Bring services there. Is it really that difficult to send a counselor, to make a deal with OHSU, to bring nurses, to bring people there to help veterans? There are so many services out there that people don't know are there and that they qualify for. I've done a lot of work over the years with veterans. I've been part of the VFW for, my mom signed me up when I was 14, so post 3440 in Bandon, thank you. A lot of these people have no idea what's available to them.
No.
I have a good friend that just passed away. His name was Don Reed, and Don worked for VFW Post. He was also a post commander. And part of what he did was go meet with veterans and explain what benefits are available, what government programs are available. Nobody's doing that with these people. You know, there are programs out there. There are drug services out there. We have thrown so much money at these things. And, you know, Hardesty, she bothers me. She's just an angry woman.
She does a job.
And now I'm sounding like an angry woman. So, I've never seen somebody so racist.
Yep.
It just...
Yep.
Well, but yeah, that contractor that had the I support Blue Lives Matter, and she cut all of his public contracts. Like I think it was you that said, who gave this woman the right to do these things? Who gave this woman the right to do
Police is not her.
No, but Ted
assignment.
Wheeler's a wimp. And the only reason Ted Wheeler was reelected is the woman that was running against him was worse
Horrible.
than he was.
Yeah.
Like I said, another
That's-
spoiled rich kid is all he is.
Yeah, and I was so happy to watch that man get maced.
But at least we still have a few cops. If she had one, we would have none.
I used to be, years ago, in my younger days, I was a bartender and a waitress. I know a lot of these officers. I mean, Christ, I worked at Bob's Big Boy for years. They used to all sit at the counter. We have some great police officers in this county. Yeah, we have some assholes, but we have some really good police officers. And like he said, right now we're villainizing our police. We're not supporting them. And if you told me every day what a horrible job I'm doing and how I'm lucky to have my job and that I'm going to fire you tomorrow, I'd probably tell you where to blow. It's just, we need to start supporting these people. We need to bring them back. I'm also against the bonuses because there's no incentive for the people who are here doing the job currently that are doing it well. I very much support police accountability and body cameras, as you mentioned. They do protect everyone involved. And if you're doing something bad, punish the police officer.
Don't start shit, won't be shit.
Exactly.
That's basically what we
Stop
need to get back to.
villainizing the police and deifying the criminals. I'm sorry, but I very much was disheartened by what happened to Mr. Floyd, but the fact that he was your poster boy really bothered me. You have a young nurse that died. You had another gentleman that was jogging, that was chased through a neighborhood. Those should have been your poster people.
Yeah.
Not a career criminal.
Yeah.
That that's not the people I want to protect.
Yeah.
We need more systems in place. We do need, I also don't think that the neighborhood watch, if you want to call it, everybody was screaming when the gentleman got shot at Lens Park about how we didn't bring in this community response. Well, the reason that we couldn't bring in this community response is every single phone call said, there's a man waving a gun in the middle of Holgate.
They don't count if there's gun.
And I don't know all of the circumstances because we're not being given numbers, we're not being given real data. And that also bothers me because I am a numbers girl. He's a numbers guy. I don't know if he was mentally ill, I don't know what the circumstances were, but there was a gun. And I'm sorry, I will never ever fault a police officer when somebody's pointing a gun.
I was there, and the officers were demanding for him to put his hands up and come out.
Yeah.
He would not do that. He did not give them a choice.
That's what Tim said.
He didn't give them a choice.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you guys have more than $16,000 in debt on any? We are numbers people,
and I have never once missed a single payment.
And so do you gamble quite a bit?
I do play Keno though, you can ask Lens Market.
Okay.
My friend Tim just retired from there.
I'm sorry, that was kind of snarky.
No, I watched the same thing you did, and I also checked the numbers, and what she was worth before she went into office and what she's worth now, which is public record, by the way. And it's substantial.
And plus you wanted to oversee the police bureau. That's kind of interesting when you want to in turn sue them.
I do like to coordinate too, and I've never attacked an Uber driver.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, it's just...
I know the gas station that she's talking about also, and I'm sorry, but I broke down there a few times. It's the best lit gas station along I-5. So, yeah,
I wish you two were not running for the same seat.
We actually said that already once.
We met about a year ago, and when we didn't, we
Yeah,
signed-
but you don't sum up for position two.
Yeah, well, we talked for when we first met, we talked, I went to her office. And, we were both playing, and I think we spent like 2 hours there at her office. It was just BS, and I'm like, this is major issues. And then once we both had our names in, then we put it together.
And then we
When I reached out to her and I was like, hey, you want to do lunch? She's like, yeah, absolutely. And then she told me where her office was at, and I was like, holy crap, I know you. And she's like, oh yeah.
Well, don't downplay the grassroots efforts.
Not at all.
I think it's really important that
Well,
you speak the
neither
truth.
one of us is a candidate. We are business owners. We live and work in this neighborhood.
But your voice
We
is
don't
gonna
live
be
someplace
heard.
fancy. We live here. This is where our families work. We have friends that live and work downtown, businesses that are being destroyed. And I'm sorry, you keep putting your arm up and everybody else ignored you.
The lady behind. Go ahead.
My question, I understand that Portland is the last city of our size that we have our archaic form of government. We can't get 5 people to agree on anything and get stuff done. How are you going to get 12 people?
Yeah, right, because every district will have to have their own representation. And then, even then, they're only going to be doing, basically voting on laws and stuff like that. They're not really going to be running anything in the city besides budgetary and creating laws. So, like parking laws and stuff like that, traffic enforcement. It'll take a lot of control away from the commissioner. It'll take all control away from the commissioner. And it'll leave the mayor and city manager, but it's city manager in charge with the mayor overseeing the city manager. So, I'll tell you what, if we had that structure now,
That's
with the mayor
already a
that we
problem.
have,
Well, the
good
mayor should
luck.
never have been chief of police. It just, there's a conflict of interest there, inherent. And like what Chad said earlier about walking around downtown looking for a police officer. I haven't been downtown in almost 2 years, not just because of COVID, but there's no place to park.
No, there's a park.
There's
It's
filthy.
too scary, it's filthy.
Public transit. You
Yeah.
can get those ways.
Yeah, about public transit. Wow. Only when I'm really drunk.
Peggy, I have a question.
Go ahead.
If you won, what would happen to your business?
We actually discussed that because I did recently just take over this business, and I've been there 20 years. My fiance bought the business with me, and come July, he's actually quitting his job to come to work and take over part of the business. And if we did win, we have people to take over our positions. I mean, obviously, I would still be involved with my business, but this would be a job. I don't think some people are looking at this as a job.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say flat out, I don't have all the answers. I can't tell you where we're going to put all these homeless people or where we're going to get all this mental health. All I can say is that I will listen to what anybody has to say. I won't let my own views and values interfere with my job.
Well, we listened to Mingus. He hasn't, once he got elected, we were nothing.
Exactly.
We listened to Dan.
Right.
Once he got elected,
That was it. Well, Dan's actually working right now, but that's only because he knows that his position's up for grabs.
Right.
he's not, I'm sorry, the way he wants to do it's not the
It's
way
not
that
working.
works. It's the way that's lining somebody's pockets.
It's
Would
lining
you actually
everyone's
know what
pockets.
the foster floodplain is and where it is?
The Johnson Creek Foster Floodplain, where it comes together.
Just asking. It's unfortunate that he didn't know where it was or what it was.
Oh, wow.
Because that's where he wanted to put his camp.
Yeah.
Okay, so my office used to be, before we moved to the shop I'm on, was out on Sheldon Road, just off of Foster. So, I drove through that flood on several occasions. And I happen to drive, well, I'm driving the SUV tonight, but I also have a Mustang convertible, which was my primary car for the longest time. And then we had to get this because we have large dogs. My car didn't like that area. And right there in front of Fran's is just disgusting.
Well, you know, we
looks
spent a
like
lot
right
of
down
time
here.
and money making
We
it
spent a lot of
beautiful,
time.
moved a lot of homes
Well,
to
look-
make it beautiful.
Look how
and
much
look
money
at it
we
now.
dumped into the trail. Look
We
at
can't
it
use
now.
it.
And now I can't ride my bicycle on that trail.
I would walk on that trail armed.
No.
And then what they did to Foster is just appalling.
It's a nightmare.
I have
It's
friends
like
that
down
own
here.
businesses on Foster, and when they took away that whole lane of traffic to put some plants in, that's once again, it's more money that got spent that I don't recall anybody ever asking if we wanted this, because
They're not going to.
in this area,
They're not going
we are one of the fastest growing areas in Portland. You shoved all these new houses up here on the hill with no extra roads, and then you took, instead of adding a lane of traffic, you took one away.
On all the major arteries going into town.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And
Colgate, Foster, all of them.
everything. We took away a lane on Holgate and made it a bike lane. Okay, once again, in my neighborhood, I have a couple of professional bike riders. We have a couple of recreational bike riders, and I have a whole lot of thieves. I mean, they don't call us felony flats for nothing.
No. Right.
And why they needed a whole lane of traffic, because they don't ride in it.
It's because a lot of the people in leadership were big, avid bikers.
Look at that. Look at the
This
roads.
is Oregon, it
And
rains
that's-
here.
Look at the Rose Quarter project,
Oh my
$1.5
God.
billion.
Rose Quarter.
You know, that's aimed towards, that's just bicycles.
Yeah.
That's all they care about. you know?
And we don't, do they charge any bicycles to license them? No.
And
So-
every time they propose a new shelter or
It's always here.
low-income housing, did you notice that we have like 4 of them just along 92nd?
Yeah,
It's
it's because we're low
it's not
income and we have no
downtown.
voice.
We don't have the voice. We don't live in, well, you live in a nice
Oh, yeah, I
neighborhood.
live in a fancy neighborhood. Because it makes her happy. That's
You
all I
earned
care
your
about.
neighborhood.
I've
But
lived
they
in Lakes
keep-
all my life, and it's the end of the world.
It is. And I don't even know where we come, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know where to even start at this point, other than to listen to the people and start somewhere, do something.
Get the people off the streets.
Exactly.
Get
There were-
people
I mean,
that are drug addicted out of the
You
RVs
can't
and
even
off
stop
the
at
streets.
7-Eleven without getting hit up by 4 different people.
They closed the
Yeah.
7-Eleven down. They
Yeah.
closed it.
Yeah, well, and the kid that
get
got,
shot.
I drive by that picture every day.
Yes.
And that poor kid, all he was doing was defending his girlfriend, and some
Yeah.
guy walked up and shot him in the head.
Yeah.
It's just,
You should take a little ride, both of you should take a ride when you go down the hill.
we
That's a
have-
really great view there of what's happening. But
Yeah, I
also,
can do
the
that.
other one is, this is a major MAX station.
Mhm.
You, for the last, I know it's been at least 6 years, but the last 3 to 4 years, there's been one guy there that has started out small, but now they've totally taken over the entire entrance to the MAX station. Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
think that we could use that? There's no way.
You
And
can't
you
even get
know
on
what?
Foster.
You'll be able to see all the fires when you leave, because it'll be dark.
And it caught fire the other night, and my husband said,
Yeah,
"You're
there
gonna
was-
call?" And I said, "No way.
No.
I hope it burns."
Absolutely.
There was 2 right by our shop just recently also. And like I said, he works, keep saying lives, sorry, we live at work. And yeah, it's just,
It's a major.
I'm pretty sure that car you were talking about is still there. I drove by it today.
the red one or the
Well, I don't know
burned
what
out
color
one?
it is now. It's all completely
Oh, the
stripped apart
Tahoe?
and like burned up. It was a
Oh,
car.
well, down by the public storage right there on 135th, they they took 5 gallons of gas, and we think it used to be a Tahoe.
Yeah.
And they actually chased him, because it created a really big explosion about 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Well, there's been open fires on this, the storage unit down here twice. I've
Yeah.
filmed it twice. It
I used
totally
to have
burned it
some-
down on one section.
That whole area, I used to have a storage there.
Yeah.
I actually moved my storage, and
Well, the poor lady can't even have a gun on the property because they will not allow her to arm herself. She takes a baseball bat to run people off the property.
I take
And
a
she's
large
in her
dog.
60s.
It's crazy.
Bee spray.
where my lot is, we border Costco. And that whole trail back behind Costco is also filled. And I can't tell you how many times I've come to work at 5 o'clock in the morning and there's been somebody, my dog does this, he's got a great big boy bark. And he does this Fig Newton thing, but the problem is he also does it for bunnies. So I never really know if it's a person or a bunny. But, you know, and then I keep listening to these people. They keep wanting to, like I said, make laws that impact my life without asking me.
Yeah. What is that, taxation? Well, how can they make these laws and all, every
Because like you
time I
said-
turn around, there's a new tax.
They're all
and a new law,
attorneys.
And I never voted on it.
Yeah, or you vote on it without realizing it
When
because
he
you're
said,
lying.
I never voted on it.
people are willing to pay this extra 1%. I'm not. He's not.
I'm not.
Well, it says
we're-
1 to 2% depending on what.
Well,
you pay.
and
It's
the
not
new
gonna be
business
more.
tax that they just passed,
Yeah,
you know, that
business.
we have to do. Okay,
Did
I'm
we
barely
vote on
making it
that?
as it is because I had to join the
Yes, we
union
did.
last year.
We did.
And just trying to keep
Well, I
our
already
people
know.
employed is.
I understand that. I can't find anybody that voted yes for it. But yet the
So,
passed.
that one that passed a few years ago that was supposed to help with mental health, and it failed miserably twice. And then all of a sudden they cut all these mental health programs.
Yes.
And then everybody that was on these mental health programs ran out and voted it through. Well, that's what they told us anyway. Once again, I don't know anybody who voted for that. But once they did run out and vote for that program, and they got their money, they didn't reinstate not one of those programs. Not one, nothing. So once again, where's the money going?
I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question. I'm afraid that all the good people that are running for Hardesty seat is going to be divided the vote, and Hardesty is going to get her section. So how do the primaries work?
And that's
Is it the top two commissioners? How does
it says the top two advance on, and so if one person gets over 50%, they win automatically. There's no.
That's not going to happen.
But it's going to be, yeah, it's not possible on either position. We don't run it.
But I'm just afraid you
Except
guys
for
are
the
splitting.
city auditor's the only one that.
You guys are going to split the
thing
good
is,
vote, and Hardesty's going to get you know.
No, I think what's gonna happen.
She's raised over $200,000.
I know.
So she's got supporters,
She's
which
got a
is
lot of supporters.
mind-blowing to me. And I don't know what it is. I
No, she's got the mob.
Yeah, I don't
She's
know.
got the radical left.
lining their pockets.
Well,
I think
that
Chad
woman
and I
that
are
ran
both
against
of the
Ted
opinion that she
Wheeler
would-
was the radical left, and she
If one is
lost.
ahead.
Well, not by much
Not
though.
by much,
Yeah.
but.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Oh, shocking.
Oh, yeah, no,
Shocking.
We'd all be riding bicycles right now.
Yeah, I like my car, thank you, and
So just 2 people come out of the primary, is that how that
just
works?
two.
Just two. Yeah.
She's got
So
funding, that
after-
doesn't mean that the general population like her.
Yeah, her,
Nobody likes her.
Vlad, and Rene have all raised over $200,000. You know,
Right.
so.
Dale's running for nothing.
Yeah,
also.
Dale, he disappeared. He was just here when I came in.
He was here.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
Dale was
was wearing
standing
the
in the
t-shirt.
back.
Oh,
Yeah,
Tie-dye?
Dale's a really, really nice guy.
Oh, no, I know who he is, I just didn't see
Dale
him.
actually
not-
has some amazing ideas.
He does, he's not interested in becoming a commissioner.
Well, no, he's not.
He's not.
He told me that out front.
He's just tired of the homeless people.
Yeah.
Dale is very honest, transparent.
Yeah.
He spent some time in prison. He came out, he was homeless, and he's even said, you know, people, he says there's a lot of programs in place. He's like, so when I was dealing with these, he said there's a lot of programs. And he said they're great programs. And he said they help them dramatically. He said, but you have to be willing to accept the help. And Dale is actually out in the streets talking to the homeless people and stuff like that. And Dale has actually made a written plan. And
It's a good one.
you know, he's just a really, generally, a really, really nice guy. But
Well,
he said he doesn't want to be a commissioner. He's just like, you know, I just want
He
somebody
threw-
that's going to.
He threw his hat in the ring to make other people step up.
Yeah, a statement, you know.
And like what you said about people moving in. I do know this for a fact, that other cities are handing their homeless people bus tickets.
Absolutely.
They've sent them here. I actually have a friend that lives in Hawaii, and Hawaiians are pissed right now because Montana's been giving them plane tickets.
But Hawaii's giving them plane tickets too.
Yeah, they're sending them home.
Okay, we're wrapping
They
it up.
figured it's harder to swim home.
The city of Portland will give you a bus ticket out. However, unlike the other 49 states, they verify that there is someone at the bus station at the other end. That this person that we're giving a ticket, if we're gonna spend the money to
We wanna
send
make
them
sure you're
back
not
where they
just gonna
came
come back.
from. We want to know that there is someone at the other end that is guaranteeing they have a place to live, that they're not gonna be on the street where they're going. Not to say that they're not lying on the other end, but we do verify that they have a place to go, and frequently they claim that they have jobs. And our Portland police will call and verify that they have a job to go to before they fork up the money for the ticket. And I've heard some of my officers saying, yeah, and I give them $20 for food because you gotta eat.
Okay.
But we're at this.
Sorry. Penny will run you for city council, you're on the city council. So, I just have 3 announcements I didn't get to do earlier because we had such a rush with Vadim and Rene and Sharia and everybody else. But anyway, so we have our weekly West Rock cleanup, and that's on the agenda if you're interested. Our friend Monty is looking for someone to come out and help him at Playhaven Park, and I understand you've signed up, right, Marilyn?
Yes.
Okay, so he's going to show people how to remove ivy and blackberry. He's going to be working up here at Playhaven where there's a lot of blackberries.
9 to noon or something?
9 to noon. And then that's Saturday. That's Saturday. And then Sunday, the next day after that, we're doing our Easter Sunday breakfast at the VFW, 9 to whenever we get done talking. And you guys are more than welcome to come join us. We do this once a month to support the VFW. And they're doing their ham special for Easter Sunday. And he's going to have bunny rabbits. He's going to sell little stuffed bunny rabbits if anyone wants to buy one. So that's it.
One more thing while you have the camera.
Yes, you can.
My personal cell phone number is 503-867-1721.
Do I have it on my list?
Don't know if you do or not.
Okay.
I mean, that's like I said, it's my personal cell number, and it will always be my personal cell number. So even if I get on the council,
what is it again?
503-867-1721.
Okay. 1721. So if anyone gets a hold of me, I have his number.
Yeah, if anybody wants to call or ask questions, or you have friends or whatever that
Keep
are curious.
speaking your truth.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
that's
right.
what everybody I keep running across and talking to. I'm like, I'm kind of harsh with my ideas. And people are like,
No,
oh
we're
no,
just
we
not
like
kidding.
that.
We need
Every-
harsh.
we need that,
harsh.
you
That's
know?
why I like
We
jail.
need the truth.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
trying to be
absolutely.
politically
Yep.
correct.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
everybody
we're not
happy, and
politicians.
I'm out to
We
piss
are-
off
we're
people
your
and
neighbors.
make people happy. So I don't care if I don't make it.
Look at our
I'm not trying
Facebook
to
page.
make
You
it
would know who we were. We've been called every name in the book. Anyway.
Thank you both
I
for
looked
coming
at
out
the
here.
other page that's on your website.
We have a website
That
as
the other
well.
link that's on there
We
is,
have a
I
website
read
and-
through several
yeah,
of those issues.
yeah. Yeah, oh, from the cross?
Yes,
maybe?
I kind of liked
Yes.
from the cross.
Yes, that's one of our members. So we are adjourned, and
Thank you guys.
everyone.
Thank you guys. Good luck.
Thank you.